completed. 14.4 completed. Tell me the 14.4 is completed or not?
Example kortile.
Example करती Okay. Up to that, na? It very slow. I have solved that example del z dz. Only linear approximation. I'm asking you.
Ma'am, we have solved one example.
Only theory part of the linear approximation.
Ma'am, we have done one example of
one example we have done.
Linear
Example
approximation.
about xy it is done.
Yes, ma'am. X e to the power xy is done, ma'am.
Done. Okay. Now come to the differential. What is going on? I don't know. Yes. Nothing showing. Only up to this screen is here. I can write down here, but let me see. Okay, differential. If y is the function of x, we define the differential dx. differential dx to be an independent variable to be not this function of x1 variable here it is independent variable that is dx can be given the value of real numbers. The differential of y is defined as y is defined as dy is equal to f dash x dx. dy is equal to f dash x dx. Okay. So now we know dy by dx is equal to f dash x, so we can write down it is dy is equal to f dash x dx. Now we come to the functions of two variables. That is, your z is the function of two variables, say xy. The xy are, we say that the independent variables, like your first one. Here x is the independent variable and dx also you can say independent variable. So here xy are the independent variable. Z depend on the value of xy, and dx, the differential dx and dy, that is also the independent variables. The differential that is dx and dy to be independent variable, that is they can be given any values. Here like your real value. Values. Then the differential dz dz dz. Then the differential dz called the total differential is defined by dz is equal to del z by del x dx plus del z by del y dy, where del z, you know, it is del z by del x is equal to, I can write down fx, it is your xy, and del z by del y, I can say it is your f of y. So that I can write down as okay. That I can write down like this. So if we take dx is equal to that is del x is equal to x minus a, and dy is equal to del y is equal to y minus b, then the equation 1 say became equation 1 became it is dz is equal to function of x at AB. It is I am taking AB the point xy. That is your dx is x minus a plus function of y AB, that is your y minus b. Okay, y minus b. So this is our formula for the dz. You get your question, find out dz, then formula for the del z. Del z is according to your, it is according to functional value f x plus del x, y plus del y minus function of x. You need to find out, compare the value dz and del z. Your question is like this. This is your, compare the value, these two. Okay. So here, the linear approximation, no space. The linear approximation, what is your formula? Linear approximation formula is your L of x, y, function of x, y is nearly equal to L of x, y, that is equal to function of AB, then plus fx of AB, x minus a, fy of AB, y minus b. So that I can write down. This is your, it is dz. Okay. So that I can write down function of AB plus dz. The linear approximation I can write down in this way. Clear to all of you? It is clear to all of you? I am audible? It is clear up to this? Okay. Now example. And this one, this formula is most important. You must get one question by using this formula. Mind it. Linear approximation is also important. So here, example. If bit A, if z is equal to function of xy, that is equal to x square plus 3xy minus y square, find the differential dz. Dz. So what will do? What will do? Dz. Into, find the differential dz. That is your dx Its point is not given, so that's why I am not written x minus a. Fy xy, that is dy. So what you get the value? Tell me. Tell me. Fx of xy is how much here it is? Fx of xy, it is 2x plus 3y or not? I am audible? I am audible?
Yes, ma'am.
So Fx of xy is how much here it is?
2x plus 3y.
Plus Fy of?
3x minus 2y.
Yes. Okay. We get this value. That is our dz. The question B says that if x changes from 2 to 2.05, from 2 to 2.05 and y changes from 3 to 2.96, compare the value values of dz and del z. Okay, compare the values of dz and del z. So what is the value of dx and what is the value of dy? Tell me. What is the value of here? It changes 2 to 2.05 and it changes 3 to 2.9. What is the value of dx and what is the value of dy?
0.05 is dx.
Yes. So dx is equal to 0.05, dy is equal to
Minus 0.04.
minus 0.0. dz is equal to the value of x, sorry, the value of x is equal to the value of x is equal to 2. Y is equal to 3. 3, 2, 3 changes the value. So your starting point is 2, here it is 3. So x is equal to 2 and y is equal to 3. So dz is equal to, by substituting the value x is here, 2 into 2 plus 3 into 3, okay? 3 into 3, then your value, del x is dx is 0.5 multiplied by 0.05. We have calculator, find out your value. Then it is 3 into 2 minus 2 into 3. Then it is your minus 0.04. It is your 0. This value is 0. So what is the value you get here? It is equal to
0.65.
0.6. Okay. So similarly, del z is equal to, the compare the with del z. Del z is your function of x plus del x, means that is our 2.05 and 2.96, okay, minus f of 2, 3, okay. So find out functional value, that is your given functional value is this one. So it is your 2.05. You have calculator, you find out, plus 3 into 2.05 into 2.96. Okay, then minus y square 2.96 square then minus, then here the value it is your 2 square. We have the value it is 2 square, then plus 3 into 2 into 3, then minus 3 square. Tell me the result. Tell me the result. Katala, what do you get? Simplify and tell me the result.
I'm 0.644.
Okay. 6, 4. So it is approximately equal to this or not? So what did we do? We did down, the compare means dz is approximately equal to dz. Okay? Now come to the exercise problem. Your classwork problems are, write down your classwork problem. 2, 4, 11. Again. Two, 4, 11, 26, 31. Assignment problem is your 5, 17. Okay. Do yourself this problem. Try to do.
Ma'am, assignment question is 5.
17, 19, 32. Question number 2. Find an equation of the tangent plane to the surface. Find an equation of the tangent plane means you have to find out the equation of the tangent plane to the surface. Z is equal to 3x minus 1 square plus 2y plus 3 square plus 7. At the point 2 minus 2 here. Do it yourself. Do it. Equation of the tangent plane. All of you are doing? You are doing or not?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
What is the equation of the tangent plane? Z minus Z0 is equal to partial derivative of f with respect to x at the point x0, y0. Is not it? Then x minus x0 plus partial derivative with respect to y, x0, y0 at this point, then y minus y0. What you get your answer? What is the value for, tell me? That is your fx of 2 minus 2 is equal to
6.
this one first one.
Ma'am, 6.
Very good. Then
Ma'am, 4.
yes, very good. Then write down your equation. That is z minus z0 is our, I'm not writing the detail. Z minus z0 is 12 is equal to, that is 6 into x minus 2 plus 4 into y plus 2. Then if you simplify, it is z is equal to, simplify, z is equal to how much you are getting?
Ma'am, 6x plus 4y plus 8.
Yes. 6x? 6x
4y.
plus
4y. Plus
10?
8.
Yes, very
8,
good.
ma'am.
Yes, yes. Okay. Then question number 4. Same time, find the equation of the tangent plane. That is z is equal to x e to the power xy. Already done this type of problem at the point 2, 0, minus 2. 2, 0, 2, sorry, not minus 2, it is 2, 0, 2. Do it. Tell me. Isn't it? Here it is 1, it is 0. Clear to all of you? F of y, it is your x square e to the power xy. It is 4. 2, 0 to 4. Clear? It is clear? I am audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so now equation of the tangent plane is your z minus 2 is equal to 1 into x minus 2 plus 4 into y minus 0. Simplify. Z is equal to how much? X plus 4y. X plus 4y. Then it is your minus 2 plus 2. X plus 4y. This one?
Yes, ma'am.
Z minus 1 minus 2. X plus 4. Okay, this is your one. Then question number 11. I think 11. 11. 11, 26, 31. Explain why the function at the point 2, 3 is differentiable. Then find the linearization Lxy of the function at that point. Explain why this function is differentiable. I already told you one theorem, the statement of the theorem. According to that, you have to find out why this function is differentiable. Partial derivative with respect to x and partial derivative with respect to y exist or not. You check it. According to the statement of the theorem, f(x), xy is equal to ln, first it is, what is it? Ln xy minus 5 plus, that is your x divided by xy minus 5 and derivative of this with respect to x, this y. Okay? So at the point 2, 3, what you get? What you get? It is 6 by 1, so it is 6. Clear? Ln 1 it is 0. 2, 3, ln 1 it is 0. And it is 2, 3, 6 by 1, so it will get 6. Clear to all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Then fy, xy.
And 4.
Xy it is fy, xy it is your x square by xy minus 5. We are differentiating with respect to y. So it is x is there divided by ln of the derivative of this function, it is your 1 by, so you get, and derivative of this is you get again x. So okay, at the point 2, 3, At the point 2, 3,
4.
4.
4. 4. So what is say? So the function is differentiable at this point. We are getting it is 6 and 4. According to the statement of theorem. Clear? It is clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Then what is the question asking? Then find the linearization. Okay. Bharkara, you find out linearization at this point. Linearization is your formula L of x, y is equal to f of AB, fx of AB, x minus a, plus fy at AB, y minus b. Isn't it? So here f of AB is equal to AB means it is our 2, 3 is equal to, that is your x is our 2, it is 2, 3, 6. So all on 1 it is 0, I'll get it is 1. So 1 plus 2 into ln 1. So we get it is here 1. Okay. So now L of xy is equal to 1 plus, that is function of AB, that is we get here it is 6 into x minus 2 plus 4 into y minus 3. So simplify. Simplify.
6x plus 4y minus 23.
Okay, very good. Six x plus 4y minus 2. Okay. Get which number to fill? 26. Find the differential of the function. Find the differential of the function u is equal to root over of x square plus 3y square. U is equal to root over of x square plus 3y square. Find the differential means you have to find out du, total differential. Du is equal to del u, though u is the function of xy, so del u by del x dx plus del u by del y dy. So first del u by del x. Del u by del x. What do you get? It is your first
X
one.
by root.
It is
X by root under
1
x
by
plus x square.
1 by 2 root over of x square plus 3y square. Then the derivative of this is your 2x, so we will get xy root over of x square plus 3y square. Isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
Similarly, del u by del y is equal to 1 by 2 root over of x square plus 3y square. Then the derivative of this is our 6y is equal to 3y divided by x square plus 3y square. Clear? So you put your value here. So I'm writing here, what you get here, it is, I will get it is x by root over of x square plus 3y square dx plus 3y by root over x square plus 3y square dy. Okay? Clear to all of you? It is clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Now come to the question number 31. Can I omit? First time omitting this one. If z is equal to 31, if z is equal to 5x square plus y square and xy changes from 1 to 2, 1.05, 2.1, compare the value of del z and dz. Okay. Compare the values of del z and dz. Do it yourself. Do it yourself. Tell me the result, what you are getting dz and what you are getting del z. Already solved one problem in exam. Only I am writing the value formula. Del z is equal to dz is equal to del z by del x dx, del z by del y dy, and del z is equal to, that is your f of x plus del x, y plus del y, function of x, y. Do it. You've got the second assignment question? You've got your second assignment question? Hmm? No, already given. They'll give. I think the common question in our section it is up to 14.2, so it read up to 14.2.
मैम मिड सेम केबे
ସେଇଟା ମୁଁ ଜାଣିବି। I don't know.
कोन हम प्रैक्टिस करबी जान
ତମେ ମୋ ଆଗରୁ ଜାଣିବ।
हां मैडम
Huh?
हां मैडम
You come in the website, so you will know first.
Ma'am, dz equals 0.9.
dz is coming.
0.9225.
Yes,
0.9.
yes, 0.9. Okay.
And ma'am, delta z equals 0.922.
And delta z is equal to 0.92.
22.
So it is approximately equal or not?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So all of it clear? Mind it, you must get this type of question. Either in quiz or in your, I don't think it will come in quiz. Because it is your 14 point, 4. Assignment, immediate, next assignment, and in semester, mid-sem question. I don't know the question for the mid-sem. So it is, you can do 5, 17, 19, 30. Let me check. If it is different, then I'll do 5, you can do 17. 17 also you can do 19. 5, 17, 19. Even the value of is becomes some function of 2 is okay. And then also you can reply. F2, 5 it is given. I shall do 19. Do it now. 19 question number. Given that f is differentiable function, with f of 2 pi is equal to 6, if x of 2 pi is equal to 1, and EG1, if y of 2 pi is equal to -1, use a linear approximation. Use a linear approximation to estimate f of 2.2, 4.9. Try to do, then I do. We try first. What is the value of LXY we are getting? Linear approximation means f of xy, L of xy is equal to. Find out. I'm writing the formula only. What is the value? You are solving. Tell me here, what is the value of AB? What is the value of AB? I am audible.
Ma'am, 2 and 5.
Comma 5.
Yes, yes, 2 and 5. Do it. You write down your formula. It is already given all that value.
I'm 6.3.
Yes. What do you got? L of xy?
6.3.
L of xy I am asking you. I am not asking you by using that value. What is the basic value? Yes, here. I am asking you L of xy, what you get? Linear approximation. That is your x minus y plus 9 or not. Check it. It is given.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So after getting that L of xy, then you find out f of 2.2, 4.9 approximately equal to L of 2.2, 4.9. But that you have to put the value. Here it is your 2.2 minus 4.9 plus 9. Okay. So we are getting here it is 6.3. So I think this article is over. This article is over. Any doubt here? I am audible. Can I start next article?
Yes, ma'am.
Fourteen point 5. The chain rule. For the function of one variable, we know the chain rule in first semester calculus. That is here, if y is the function of x and x is the function of t, and where f and g both are differentiable function, then what you write down? Y is, you can write down y is the function of t. That is directly you can write down y is equal to function of gt. That we can write down. So here differentiating this with respect to t. So here what you get? We get your dy by dt is equal to, that is your first this, so dy by dx, then dx by dt. It is for the function of one variable. All of you know it is or not? You know this one or not? I must be
Yes,
in
ma'am.
first semester.
Yes, ma'am.
It is done. Now, we read here the function of two variables or more than the two variables. Okay, chain rule of several variables. So that's one. So now chain rule of case one. Case one. Chain rule of case one. Suppose Z is the function of x, y. It is a differentiable function of x, y, where, write down, is J, suppose Z is the function of x, y, is a differentiable function of x and y, where x is the function of t and y also is the function of t. So what is it saying that z is the function of two variables, but that two variables are the function of one variable, that is t. So directly you can say z is the function of one variable t, like this one. Directly you can say z is the function of one variable t, not two variables, because x is the function of one variable t and y is the function of one variable t. So z, we say that z is the function of one variable t, are both differentiable function of t. Function of t. Then z is the differentiable function of t. And you see, z is the function, ultimately z is the function of t only. So we write down here dz by dt, not del z. Z is the function of, ultimately I'm getting it is one variable t, so dz by dt is equal to, though f is the function of two variable x, y, so we write down del f or del z by del x. Then x is the function of one variable t, so we write down dx by dt. Not del x by del t, because x is the function of one variable. Plus, again, del f by del y, because it is the function of two variables, then dy by dt. So it is the chain rule of case one. Example. If z is equal to x square y plus 3xy4, where x is equal to sine 2t, y is equal to cos t, find I am audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Y is equal to cos t. It is write down y is equal to cos t. Find del z by del t. Find del z by del t. Do it. Do it yourself. Oh, it is already time over. So, okay. Next class will do. I'm not seeing the time. Okay, thank you to you all. I'm going to stop now.
Good morning, everyone. Am I audible to you all? Okay, fine. So, Deep, have you
Yes.
remembered how far we have completed in the last class? I suppose we have completed up to this problem.
Yes.
Is it? Okay, fine. So we'll start from here. So next that comes is the energy storage in capacitors. Okay. So till now we have defined what is a capacitor. We have learned how the capacitor is going to work. That means how it is getting charged and how it is getting discharged. And next we studied about the different types of configuration of capacitors. We learned that capacitors can be classified into different types. So based on their dielectric medium that is used, based on the voltage rating, based on the thermal rating, and based on the size and shape, we are classifying the capacitors into different types. Now next what we learned is that particularly on the basis of their geometry, your capacitors are basically classified into three types. One is a parallel plate capacitor, the other one is the cylindrical capacitor, and the last one is a spherical capacitor. And over there, as per your course, we have completed the parallel plate capacitor, and from there we derive what is going to be the expression for capacitance for a parallel plate capacitor. Next, we learned about the different ways we can connect the capacitor. So normally we can connect it in series and parallel, but practical circuits, they are a combination of both series and parallel capacitors. And over there, you people have learned how to calculate the net capacitance or the equivalent capacitance between any 2 points in a network of capacitors. So this thing we have already completed. Now let us move on to the energy storage in capacitor. Okay. So as you all know that your capacitor is a circuit element which is going to store the electrical energy that is given by a source through the conductors to the capacitor. Now this energy, as you all know, it is not going to be, energy can neither be created nor be destroyed. So basically what happens, the energy from the capacitor is going to store the energy. So if it is at all going to store the energy, where it is going to store? It is actually going to store in between the two conductors in the form of something known as electric field energy. So we'll study about this electric field energy after some time. Okay, so now let us concentrate how much or what is going to be the expression for the energy that can be stored in a capacitor when it is going to get charged up. Okay, so the first point over here says the electric potential energy stored in a capacitor is just equal to the amount of work done, W, to charge the capacitor. Okay, so when we are talking about how much, we all know that energy stored is equal to the work done, or vice versa. Work done is equal to the energy stored. Now, obviously, previously the capacitor was completely discharged. There was no presence of any positive charge or any negative charge on either of the conductor. Now when we connected it to a voltage source or a battery, some work is done by this battery, and what it is going to do, the battery is providing the energy in such a way that the positive charges are going to be residing on one of the conductors, whereas all the negative charges are going to reside on the other conductor. In this way, what happens? Some work has been done to segregate the charges on two different conductors of the capacitor. Now, once there is a charged capacitor, one is positive, the other one is negative, then obviously you all know that an electric field is going to be created. Okay, so all these types of phenomena that is going to take place when I am charging the capacitor, obviously some sort of work has to be done. And obviously this work done W is going to be stored as a form of potential energy inside the capacitor. Okay, now when the capacitor is going to be discharged, okay, how we are going to discharge a capacitor? Okay, first let us see how we are charging a capacitor, right? So I am having a battery over here, which is the energy source that is actually going to charge this capacitor. So this is the capacitor. So when I am charging it, some sort of work is done inside this capacitor, and that work is stored inside this capacitor as the potential energy. So this is the circuit for charging the capacitor. Now let us talk about the discharging circuit of the capacitor. Okay, so this is your discharging circuit I am going to draw. So what I am going to do is that once the capacitor is fully charged, I will remove this battery. Okay, I will remove this battery, and instead of that I will connect it to some load. Okay, so I will connect, let us say I have connected it to a incandescent bulb, okay, or a tungsten filament bulb. Okay, so what is going to happen, since some energy is stored in this capacitor, therefore that energy is going to be removed, or it is going to get discharged through this particular load, because you all know that the load is the one which is actually going to consume the energy to do some useful work. Now in this process, what happened, from the battery, the energy is made to be stored inside this capacitor during the process of charging, and during the process of discharging, the energy stored in the capacitor is going to be discharged into this load. Okay, so when it is going to do that, for some time it is going to do some useful work like glowing the tungsten filament bulb. So in this way, whatever energy was stored inside the capacitor, that is now discharged through this particular load, and this load is doing some useful work by giving you some light energy. Okay, so now let us mathematically find out what is going to be the expression for the energy that is stored inside the capacitor after it has got charged. Okay, so as I was telling you that the work done is equal to potential energy. Now potential energy, you all know that it is equal to QE, that is your force into distance, because work done is equal to force into distance. So what is force in case of this electric field and a charge? It is nothing but QE dot D. What is D? D is the displacement, or it is the distance between the two conductors of the capacitor. Okay, so if this is the case, now in place of this the W, I can also write it in differential form as dW, and dW is equal to ED dot DQ. Okay, now have a look at this ED. What is this ED? It is nothing but the potential difference applied across the capacitor. So this is VDQ. And what is V? V is equal to Q by C. So in place of this V, we have written it as Q by C. So Q by C dQ. So if I want to find what is the total work done, or what is the total amount of energy that is stored in the capacitor, for that I have to integrate it from 0 to Q, where Q is the maximum value of the charge that this capacitor can store. Okay, so if this is the case, then finally I am going to get an expression which says that potential energy is equal to half Q square by C. Now in place of this Q, I can use the expression CV. So if I am going to do that, then I am going to get another expression for potential energy as half CV square. Because over here you can see in place of Q, I'll simply replace this Q by means of CV. So since Q square is there, so I'll write C square V square divided by C. So ultimately what I am going to get is half CV square. Now even over here, I can also write this C in terms of QV. Okay. So let us say half. So in place of your C, I can write it as Q by V. Okay. So if it is Q by V and this V square is present over here, so this V square, this square term get cancelled out, and what I am left is half QV. So there are three expressions which suggest or which gives the expression for the potential energy or simply the electrical energy that is stored inside a capacitor after the capacitor gets completely charged. Is there any doubt? Yes? Shall we proceed further? Okay, fine. Now, so till now I have been talking about the electrical energy that is stored in the capacitor. Okay, fine. Now, does that have any specific name? Yes, of course, that electrical energy is sometimes known as electric field energy. Why it is so? It is because that suppose let us say here I am having the capacitor. So the capacitor is getting charged through this DC source battery. Okay. Now what happens? This inside this battery, some chemical reaction is taking place. Now this chemical reaction is converted to electrical energy, and this electrical energy is transported to this capacitor through this conductor. And as you all know that energy changes from one form to the other. Naturally, the chemical reaction because of this chemical energy is converted to electrical energy in case of a battery. Now, this electrical energy obviously is going to be changed to some other form of energy when it is stored inside the capacitor. Obviously, it is not going to be mechanical energy or light energy or chemical energy or nuclear energy, nothing like that. So what is actually going to convert is something known as your electrical field energy. Okay. So electrical energy and electrical field energy both are two different things. Okay. So when we are talking about electrical energy, remember that this electrical energy is that energy which is actually going to make current to flow in the conductor, and this current is going to do the work. But in case of a capacitor, this electrical energy is actually changed or this electrical energy is actually converted in the form of electric field energy, or this electric field itself is a form of electrical energy. Now let me give you some examples from our day-to-day life. For example, the mobile signals that your mobile receiver is receiving is actually in the form of electric field energy. How is it so? Because the signals that are coming or that are given out by the mobile when you make a call, it is actually in the form of electromagnetic energy. Even your light energy, the TV signal, the audio signals from the FM stations, all these are nothing but your electromagnetic waves. Okay. And these electromagnetic waves, obviously they have the capacity to do some work. Okay. So these electromagnetic waves, for example, when they will come from a satellite, okay, they are going to strike the antenna that you people are using as dish antenna for receiving your television signals. Okay, so over here you are having one unit known as your responder, which is also known as LNB unit, and it is usually located at the focus of this concave disk. So these parallel signals are going to concentrate over here, and it is going to, this electromagnetic wave is now converted into an electrical signal. Okay, that means previously this, as I told you, that energy changes from one form to another. Now this electromagnetic waves they are going to be converted into electrical energy when it strikes this LNB or this responder unit. And what happens is that the cable that runs from this LNB unit up to your set-top box is actually carrying the electric signal or the electrical energy from the responder unit of the disk antenna. Okay, so these electromagnetic waves, they are now converted into electrical energy, and this electrical energy, which is in the form of electrical signal, is going to be amplified and it is going to be tuned to give you the audio and video signals. So obviously one thing is very common, these electromagnetic waves are nothing but energy signals or energy, or it is having some energy. So who is creating these electromagnetic waves? It is the electric field energy, or rather we can say that the electromagnetic waves are nothing but electric field energy. Okay, so as it is written, when we move the charges from one conductor to the other during the charging process, an electric field is developed. The work done in developing the electric field is stored in the form of potential energy in the electric field between the conductors, and this energy is known as your electric field energy. So please try to understand the difference between your electric energy or electrical energy and your electric field energy. Electric energy is going to be the one which is going to do some work when a current starts flowing. But in case of electric field energy, no current is going to flow. If at all a current is going to flow, that is not the normal current that we people understand by saying that the flow of electrons is known as current. So that current is different, but the current in electric field energy you will learn is known as displacement current, and that is quite different from that of your conventional current. So in other words, we can say your electrical energy is different from that of your electric field energy. So this electric field energy is a new concept that you people are studying right now. Before this, you haven't studied about this electric field energy. Okay. So when I am talking about electrical energy, I used to say that it is in terms of watt, or it is in terms of joules, something like this, or electron volt. But how we are going to express this electric field energy? So this electric field energy is usually expressed in terms of energy density of the capacitor. Okay. Now this energy density is represented by a alphabet small u, and this is equal to the potential energy stored inside the capacitor in the form of electric field divided by the volume of the capacitor. Are you understanding, or is there any problem? Hello? Are you people understanding? Am I audible? Okay, only one. Okay, fine. Because these things are quite new to you. Because till now you haven't heard about this electric field energy, but this is the first time you people are probably listening to this electric field energy. So this concept is not same as that of your electric energy. So please try to understand the difference. And as I told you that when we are talking about electric field energy, rather we consider electric or energy density as the most vital important parameter of this electric field energy. So what is this energy density? So since we are talking about the electric field energy inside a capacitor, so we will define this energy density of a capacitor as U is equal to the potential energy stored inside the capacitor in the form of electric field divided by the volume of capacitor. So already we have familiar that the energy stored, or your small u, is equal to your capital U, that is the potential energy stored inside the capacitor divided by the volume of the capacitor. Now what is this U? U is equal to, we all know, is equal to half CV square, and V, let us say we are using a parallel plate capacitor. Okay, now you can use any type of capacitor, doesn't matter. For the sake of simplicity, let us consider a parallel plate capacitor. So in case of parallel plate capacitor, you all know that the volume is given by the area of the capacitor multiplied with the distance between the two conductors. So for that, we have replaced this V by means of this AD, okay, area into the distance between the two conductors. And we have replaced the potential energy as half CV square. Now for a parallel plate capacitor, your C is equal to epsilon 0 A divided by D. So I replace this C by means of its expression over here. So if I am going to do that, now you can see this A and this A are going to cancel out each other because A is not equal to 0. So ultimately what I am getting is half epsilon 0 V square by D square. But now another interesting thing is that your V is equal to the electric field into the distance between the two conductors. So over here, I replace this V by means of E dot D. So naturally, this one turns out that it is equal to, now this D square will also cancel out because D is also not equal to 0. So ultimately what I am going to get is energy density of a capacitor, parallel plate capacitor, is given by half epsilon 0 E0 square. Now, please be very clear that this expression is only meant for parallel plate capacitor with air as the dielectric medium, okay, with air as the dielectric medium, because air is going to have a permittivity of epsilon 0. By chance, if I am going to find the electric potential or rather I will say the energy density for a capacitor with some dielectric epsilon, now obviously in this case the expression is going to be modified and it can be written as half epsilon E square, okay, E square, okay. Now I have written epsilon 0 and E0 square to indicate that I am talking about a air core capacitor. That means the dielectric material over here is air or vacuum, okay. Now if you will concentrate and see this equation or expression U is equal to half epsilon 0 E0 square, there is a very interesting thing you will note. What is the interesting thing? The interesting thing is that this expression is completely independent of the dimensions of the capacitor. For example, I just told you that while deriving this expression, I have considered a parallel plate capacitor. And obviously a parallel plate capacitor has two dimensions. One is the area, the other one is the distance of separation D. Now both these terms are absent in this expression, which clearly suggests that your energy density of a capacitor is free or independent of the dimensions of the capacitor, okay. Similarly, suppose I would have used a electrolytic capacitor, a cylindrical capacitor, and in cylindrical capacitor the parameters are R, that is the radius of the cylinder, and L, that is the length of the cylinder. And you will also find that the expression for U is again coming as half epsilon E0 E square, which clearly suggests that it is independent of R and L. So ultimately I can say that your energy density is same for all types of capacitor irrespective of their dimension or set. So this expression is equally applicable to parallel plate capacitor, to cylindrical capacitor, or to your spherical capacitor, but as it never depends on the parameters or the shape and size of the capacitor. Next, another very interesting thing that we can see is, now over here this expression suggests that this is a capacitor with air or vacuum, or let us say vacuum as the dielectric medium. Now we have studied that in vacuum there is no presence of matter, okay. If there is no presence of matter, then who is going to hold the energy? Because we know it is only the matter which is going to hold the energy. And if there is no matter, there will be no energy, right? So this is one thing which we have studied right from our schooling days when we started studying physics. Now, over here, you are seeing that energy density is equal to half epsilon 0 E0 square. What does that suggest? It suggests that even if it is vacuum, it is still having some energy, or rather, in other words, I can say vacuum is containing energy. Now, is it possible? Because your vacuum is free from matter, there is no air, there is nothing, then how come it is going to store the energy? It is quite contradictory. Now, the answer is actually that your vacuum is never a perfect vacuum. So in this universe, or practically, you can never achieve a complete vacuum or ideal vacuum space. Rather, what we achieve is partial vacuum. That means even if you will try to pump out air from a volume using most sophisticated technology, but still then there will be some amount of air that is still going to be left inside the vacuum. And this air is actually having some matter, and obviously if it is having some matter, then it is going to store the energy. So the next note number 2 says this result has an interesting implication. We think of vacuum as space with no matter in it, but vacuum can also have electric fields and therefore energy. Thus, empty space need not be truly empty after all. That means whenever we are telling that there is a vacuum, always remember that it is never an ideal vacuum. Rather, it is going to be a partial vacuum. And when I'm talking about partial vacuum, that means it is going to have some sort of matter inside it. And it is because of this matter that you are having some energy inside the vacuum core capacitor. Okay? Fine or not?
Sir, one doubt.
Yes, of course. Please.
Sir, in that equation, E become E naught. That one, explain once again, sir.
Okay, fine. E become E naught. No. Actually, you see, I have considered this capacitor to be a parallel plate capacitor with vacuum as the dielectric medium. Okay? Okay, let me rewrite it once again. Just have a look. So I am using a capacitor which is having air as the your vacuum as the dielectric medium. Okay. Now it is a parallel plate capacitor. For that, your C is given by how much? Epsilon 0 A by T. Right? It is okay. Now, potential energy stored inside a capacitor. Let us say capital U is the potential energy stored inside the capacitor. How much it is? Half CV square. Okay. Now I will replace this C by means of this expression for a parallel plate capacitor. Okay. So your potential energy is equal to half. In place of C, I will write epsilon 0 A by D. Okay. Into V square. Right? Now V is nothing but what? It is the voltage of the capacitor. Now when I am talking about energy density, small u is equal to your potential energy, which is represented by capital U, divided by the volume of the capacitor. Volume of the capacitor. Now what is the volume for a parallel plate capacitor? It is the area into the distance. So area into distance or area into length is nothing but the volume. So over here, I will write it as half epsilon 0 A by D. Now V, in place of V, I can also write it as, because V is equal to E0 D square. E D. So in place of V square, I will write it as E square D square. So this D square and this D cancels out, divided by A D. Okay. Now you see this D and this D cancel out. This A and this A cancel out. So what I am left to it is your small u is equal to half. Epsilon 0 is still over here. So I'll write epsilon 0. And what else is remaining? It is your E0. Okay. Is it okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. In that part, how that become E naught? In previous
Oh,
step, it was
sorry,
E.
sorry. Okay. Let me tell you. This is actually E0. This is actually E0. Okay, because I am talking now. This E0 is nothing but the electric field inside an AR core capacitor. Okay. So in place of AR, if I am using any other dielectric medium, the expression is going to be U is equal to half epsilon E square. So E is for the electric field of a capacitor with any dielectric medium other than air or vacuum. Whereas your U0, okay, let us write it as U0. U0 is nothing but what? The energy density of a air core capacitor. So let us write it as U0. So U0 is equal to half epsilon 0 E0 square. Got it?
Yes, sir.
So this expression is purely meant for capacitors with air or vacuum as the dielectric medium. Whereas the above equation is, this equation is for all those capacitors with dielectric medium other than air or vacuum. But this one is purely meant for those air core capacitors. Clear about this? Yes? Clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so whenever you are having any sort of doubt, please ask me right over there. Thank you. Now, so almost we are arriving at the last part. Now we'll study about this dielectric. So what is this dielectric? Dielectric is nothing but the insulator that we are going to insert in between the two conductors. Okay. Now, if it is air and vacuum, well and good, they are also insulators. Fine. But they do have some limitations. Okay. They do have some limitations which are going to be completely eradicated by means of using some insulating material. Okay, so basically the commonly used dielectrics in capacitors are like your transformer oil. So for using transformer oil in between the two conductors will be immersed in a tank of transformer oil and they will form a capacitor. Okay, so that is usually known as oil filled capacitor or electrolytic capacitor. Secondly, we have mica sheet. Mica is a very good insulator, and sometimes we make use of mica sheet to behave as a insulator or dielectric medium. Very simple capacitors also make use of a sheet of paper to make a capacitor. So paper core capacitors are also available in the market. Similarly, we can use rubber as a dielectric medium. So multiple number of insulators are used depending on their utility, their voltage rating and their thermal rating. Usually the most commonly used commonly used dielectric is the electrolytes because they not only have a very good thermal voltage rating, but also they are having a very high dielectric breakdown voltage. That means they can withstand very high voltage applied to the capacitor. So we are not going to go deep into this dielectric. Now we will see what are the important features or important things associated with the dielectric. We are not going to for the details of this dielectric. Okay, so the insulating material or medium inserted between the two conductors is also called the dielectric. It serves three main purposes. What are the three main purposes? The first and the most important one is it maintains a constant gap between the conductors, particularly when the conductors are having a very large cross-sectional area in comparison to the distance of separation. What does this mean? That means suppose let us say I am having two number of A4 size paper. Okay, I am having two number of A4 size paper, which means I am having two number of conductors of the size of A4 size paper. Okay, so here there are the two conductors. Now I want to make a capacitor with an air gap of 1 mm, with a gap of 1 mm. So in this case, obviously the cross-sectional area is very, very large in comparison to the distance of separation. So if this is the case, I cannot maintain a constant distance between the two conductors. For this purpose, what I will use is, I will use the dielectric medium. I will use a dielectric medium which is going to have a thickness of 1 mm. So I will simply put this dielectric medium of 1 mm in between this conductor C1 and this conductor C2, and both of them are going to form a capacitor. So this dielectric material is going to maintain a constant separation of 1 mm throughout the entire surface area. So this is one of the most important utilities of dielectric medium. Second most important one, the presence of two conductors will increase the voltage rating of the capacitor. Okay, let me tell you what is this voltage rating of capacitor. Now, if you will take two number of conductors, let us say, and I am going to apply a variable voltage, that means the voltage can be increased and decreased. So usually the symbol for variable voltage source is like this. Okay. Now in between this conductor C1 and C2, okay, there is a gap of, let us say, 1 mm or 1 mm gap is there, and in between them there is no dielectric medium except air is there. Now if I will keep on increasing the voltage, then you will see that at something around 21.6 volt kV, kilovolt, or rather I will say 2160 volt, you will see that this dielectric medium or the air between these two is going to break down. Breakdown means what? There will be some sort of clashing or arcing like this. Okay, so there will be some sparks which is going to move from your C1 conductor to C2 conductor. That means when there is a spark between this C1 and C2, we say that the dielectric medium has ruptured or there is a dielectric breakdown. Okay, that means the dielectric medium is no more going to behave like a insulator. It is going to behave like a conductor by allowing the spark to pass through the air gap. So this is the problem with air or vacuum core capacitor. But if in place of this one, if I will insert some dielectric medium, even let us say I will insert some paper over here, paper is also a dielectric, and I will maintain the same 1 mm gap, then you will see that even if I am applying around 4000 volt, still then there is no flashing or there is no breakdown of the capacitor. Okay, that means the paper is going to behave like a better insulator than that of your vacuum or air. So in other words, I can say by inserting a dielectric medium in between the conductors, the voltage rating of the capacitor can be increased to a large extent. Is it okay? Okay. So the last important thing is that if I am by using dielectric medium, we can also increase the capacitance of the capacitor. Very simple thing, because we know that C is equal to, let us say, epsilon 0 AD. Let us say I am talking about a parallel plate capacitor. So in place of this epsilon 0, if I am using this epsilon 0 is meant for air or vacuum, and it is 8.85 into 10 to the power minus 12. Okay, so it is a very small figure, very small. 10 to the minus 12 is very small. Now in place of this, if I am going to use any other dielectric medium with a permittivity more than this, obviously the capacitance of this capacitor is going to increase. For example, there are many conductors, there are many insulators which are going to have a permittivity of more than this epsilon 0. So naturally in that case, the capacitance value is going to increase to a very large value. Okay. So these are the three most important use of this dielectric medium. Now, the most important parameter or the most important thing that is associated with a dielectric material is the dielectric constant. Obviously, the derivations and other things are not in your syllabus. That's why we have not gone for the details. So simply remember that your dielectric constant K is given by C/C0. Okay. Actually, the definition is up to this much. The definition of a dielectric medium says that it is nothing but the ratio of the capacitance of a capacitor with some dielectric material by a capacitor without the dielectric medium. That means it is referring to air-cooled capacitor. So your dielectric constant is given by C/C0. The subscript 0 indicates that it is a air-cooled capacitor. So C is nothing but the capacitance of a capacitor with a dielectric medium of permittivity epsilon. Similarly, C0 is the capacitance of a capacitor with a dielectric medium which is either vacuum or air. So since both the things over there, the only change is in the permittivity. So your K is also equal to epsilon by epsilon 0. Now we can also extend the expression to as K is equal to V0 by V is also equal to the electric field with air as the dielectric medium by E, that is the electric field with of a capacitor with a dielectric medium. So you have to remember this expression because a lot of problems are involved using these types of expression. Okay, shall we move further? Is there any doubt anywhere? Okay, so let us move. Now, another important thing that we need to learn regarding this dielectric medium. Now, you can see I am having in the figure A, I am having vacuum as the dielectric medium, whereas in figure B, I am having a insulating material other than air or vacuum as the dielectric medium. Now, there is something very special about these two cases. Now, let me explain it to you all. We have already in the first class, when we were talking about the properties of charge over there, I have talked about something known as polarization. Now, what is polarization? When a charged body is coming near to a neutral body, what happens? It induces some surface charge on the neutral body. Okay, so that phenomena over here, you can see its application. Now, just have a look over here. Here you are having a capacitor where you are having vacuum as the dielectric medium. So this capacitor is fully charged. This conductor is plus, this conductor is minus. So naturally an electric field is going to exist between them and it is directed from the positively charged conductor to the negatively charged conductor in straight lines like this. So let us say this electric field is equal to your E0. Fine. Now, if in place of this air or vacuum, I am going to insert some other dielectric medium. Okay. So what is going to happen? Let us see. Suppose I will insert a dielectric medium over here. So this one is positively charged conductor. This one is negatively charged conductor. So this is a charged body and this insulator is a neutral body. And we have already learned that when a neutral body comes in here to a charged body, then obviously polarization is going to take place. That means all the free electrons will try to move to the surface of the neutral body which is facing the positive charge. Similarly, the positive charges will remain over here as usual because all the negative charge near to these positive charges have been transported to this side. Okay, so over here you will see that there is something known as an induced charge. So over here it is nothing but this induced charge is represented by Qi, and since it is all the electrons are on this side, I'll represent it as minus Qi. Similarly, on this plate, the charge was Q, and on this charge, it is minus Q. Now this minus q is going to induce a charge that is plus qi. Okay, this is plus qi. So this is because of the polarization effect of the capacitor. So why polarization is taking place? It is because the insulator is neutral, whereas the two conductors across this insulator is going to be charged. So in this case, we can say polarization is taking place and there is something known as an induced charge. Now, obviously, I cannot go much deeper into this, but one important thing let me share with you, because these are not in your course, but let me tell an interesting thing. So what is actually going to happen? So previously, when no dielectric medium was present, the electric field was E0. Now, since some positive and negative charges have separated inside the neutral body, therefore an electric field is also going to exist inside it. Let us say this is the induced electric field EI. So if I will tell what is the net electric field in between the two conductors, then obviously it is going to be less than that of your E0. Why? Because E0 vector was in this direction before the dielectric and EI is in the opposite direction. So naturally the electric field is now reduced to simple E vector. So this is not in your course, but let me tell you, because this will give you a better insight, which says that the electric field after insertion of the dielectric medium is going to be reduced, because the net electric field is reduced because of this induced electric field. Now this induced electric field is taking place because of the induced charges present on the surface of the insulator. Everybody clear about this? Or shall I explain it once again? Okay. Now, as you can see over here, I have written one expression. This expression is also needed for you to solve some problems. So, the induced charge is equal to the total charge whole into 1 minus the reciprocal of dielectric constant. Suppose I will say find the surface charge, induced surface charge density sigma I minus sigma I. Then how you are going to do? First you are going to calculate your Qi, then simply place that Qi minus Qi divided by A is going to give you a minus sigma I. So this there is a problem on this as well. We'll solve it now. Okay. So now we are coming to a problem. So whatever we have studied till now, everything will be utilized to solve this problem. So we have learned about parallel plate capacitor, we have learned about the expressions, we have learned about the energy density, the energy stored inside the capacitor, dielectric constant, everything we have studied. Now we will solve a problem. Okay. So before solving the problem, you have to give it a try. So right now, you first go through this problem. If you want, you can write it down. I'll give you some time. It is 11:51. I can give you around 5 to 6 minutes of time to solve the problem. This is a very easy problem. Put the formula, get the answer type problem. Each and everybody, please give it a try, and I'm sure everybody can solve it with ease. Now write down the problem. I will talk to you after 6 minutes. So at 11:57, you have to tell me the answer for each of this. Even though it looks like a very lengthy problem, truly speaking, it is a very simple problem. A parallel plate capacitor with each plate having an area of 2000 centimeter square. So a capital A is given to you and 1 centimeter apart, B is given to you. Okay, is connected to a power supply and charged to a potential difference of 3 kilovolt. So V is also given to you and then disconnected from the supply. That means it is first charged and then it is disconnected. We then insert a sheet of insulating plastic material between the plates. That means before that it was vacuum which is acting as the dielectric medium. Now you have inserted a plastic and that is now behaving like the insulating material or the dielectric. Okay, completely filling the space between them. We found that the potential difference decreases to 1 kV while the charge on each capacitor plate remains constant. What does that mean? That means before we have inserted the dielectric medium, the potential difference across the two terminals of the capacitor was 3000 volt. But now after insertion of the dielectric medium, the potential difference has decreased to 1000 volt. Very simple, sure thing, because as I told you previously, the electric field was high. Once you inserted the dielectric medium, because of polarization, the electric field decreases. So if electric field will decrease, then obviously the voltage across the two terminals of the capacitor will also decrease. Find the original capacitance. Okay, now you start doing. Put the formula, get the answer time. So it is 11:53. We will talk at 11:57. 4 minutes. Do it. Okay, have you done it? Have you completed anybody? Now come on, tell me. Okay, G, fine. Okay, so let just have a look whether your answers are matching with that of mine or not. So A is this much. Sorry, C0.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Sir, what is
fine,
PF?
fine, very good. PF is picofarad.
Okay, okay, okay.
Picofarad. Pico is 10 to the minus 9. Okay,
Yes,
you
sir,
are
got
right.
it.
It should not be 10 to the power minus 10 means it should be 17.7 picofarad. Okay, somewhere I made the mistake. So P is for 10 to the minus 9, right?
So pico is 10 to the minus 12 meter.
Yes. I am sorry. Pico is 10 to the minus 12. Right. Nano is 10 to the minus 9. You are correct. I am
And then
sorry.
it will be 177 pico.
Yes. It should be 177. That's what I made a mistake. So it is 177 picofarad. Let us write it like that. You all are correct. Thank you. Next, after the insertion of the dielectric, you must be getting C is equal to this much. Okay, do you have any other class after this? Okay, so it is now time for the next teacher. So tomorrow day after tomorrow we'll meet and complete this chapter in full and final, right? Most probably it is up to chapter number 24. Okay, it will be held in the first week of June. But if any update comes to me, I will inform you all, right? Okay, thank you. Please be online.
Good afternoon, all of you.
Good afternoon.